Let me take
Okay. So hello everyone, welcome to Interacts. I'm happy to welcome you all to a fifth week of interaction. That is a new initiative started in 2021. In these interactions, we talk about a new topic every week with expert panelists of that field. Today, we are going to talk about BIM, Building Information Modeling, and Revit as a tool for creating designs, but also of why and how BIM helps in sustainability, which is one of the focus areas of for all of us, especially architects and engineers and the younger people coming out of college, people who are going to be the leaders and next managers. So they should be doing the right things, making sustainability and environmental protection as part of their focus areas. So as always, has talked about sustainability, that it starts right with every individual and especially with architects and engineers, because we are the ones related to construction industry. And as we all know, construction industry is responsible for global energy use and energy related carbon dioxide emissions. Although BIM, as we all know, mostly is associated with design and pre-construction detailing and the whole process. But today we would like to hear from our panelists about the role it plays in a newer dimension, that is of sustainability, that how the software helps us to contribute in utilizing resources efficiently and reduces materials wastage. So this week we are going to interact with a few experienced professionals in this field, both from India and the US. So we have with us Ms. Reena Sahai from Michigan, we are awaiting Ms. Viveka Devadas from Boston, and Mr. Farhad Khan from New Delhi. To give a brief background of each one of the panelists, Ms. Reena Sahai is an Autodesk Expert Elite team member and a Revit certified professional, and she works as the architectural BIM manager at Fishback. She also teaches Revit and architecture and is also the author of the series Reena's Random Revitisms, which you can also read about on in the guest blogs, and is also an Autodesk University speaker. And we have with us Mr. Farhad Khan. Farhad is an architect and urban design professional with more than 9 years of experience. He's an Autodesk certified professional for Revit architecture. He's currently managing consulting services for North India at Capricorn Technologies. He's focused on helping design professionals in BIM training and BIM implementation. So we are awaiting Ms. Viveka Devadas, though I'll give a brief background of hers. She's a senior technical specialist for Revit products who helps in troubleshooting customer issues by networking with students, architects, designers, the global Autodesk team, and the Revit community worldwide. She has a background in digital architectural design and construction management. She's also passionate, especially in the virtual reality and augmented reality industry. She continues to explore design challenges that are both environment friendly and cost effective, that constantly change how we connect with people, information, and experiences. So I would like to first invite Reena Sahai to talk about sustainability and Revit. Over to you, Reena.
Morning, everybody. And I'm happy to be here. Deepika, thank you so much for this opportunity. And let me see if I can share my screen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk. What I would like to talk about is a brief introduction to sustainable practices that can be enhanced by BIM. Ever since last March, we have undergone a life-changing experience with the advent of COVID-19, with the starting of lockdown. AC firms had to engage in almost an overnight transition from working in the office to working at home. So from having one single office Fishbeck, for instance, we ended up having maybe 500 remote offices because everybody was working from home, everybody was working via VPN. Now, VPNs at their best can be clunky. So one of the biggest challenges that we faced was having to deal with more than 100 projects and still enforce consistency in BIM standards. At that point of time, one of the life belts that Autodesk threw out to the industry was the open access to BIM 360. Adoption of BIM 360 suddenly became the norm rather than the exception. And during that particular time, the weekend starting from March the 13th, going on to March the 16th, that entire weekend, a team of maybe 5 of us, we were working around the clock to take all of our projects off of our local server. We were using a Panzera-based system, so we had to move our projects off of our local server and transfer them over to BIM 360. That led to its own challenges because some of the projects had a level of corruption in them. One lesson that was learned, BIM 360 is very, very intolerant of any project corruption. So one of the challenges that was dealt with at that point of time was to scan the projects and to clean out any corruption, make them nice and lean and clean so that BIM 360 would like them and upload them so that we could use them. So now, since we have BIM 360 and we have everybody conversing online, communication became so very, very efficient. Suddenly Zoom meetings became a norm. Suddenly email, instant messaging became a tool. Screen sharing, everybody was sharing their screens. So things that had not been done before, everything that was done in person in a conference room was suddenly discarded. And it was just like having a conference room in your own home office. So just that, let's think about having a Zoom meeting in a larger context. For instance, this meeting that we have over here. Via this media, the 5 of us are reaching out to maybe thousands, maybe millions of people. And we are doing so without people having to travel, without having to engage an expensive venue. All of that adds up to making this modality of communication very, 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 very efficient, very, very sustainable. And let me remind you, BIM is not just Revit. BIM is a whole paradigm of energy efficiency, of anything that can make the task a lot more efficient. So some more paradigms that have kicked in that are enhanced by BIM. I've already talked about BIM 360. Now, such remote collaboration leads us to other project delivery methods. For instance, we've got integrated project delivery, where everything becomes so very efficient. Some of the lessons that were learned during some of the projects that have been handled using IPD were that we realized how expensive, for instance, a request for information from a contractor. When they were tackled the traditional way, they became very expensive because a request had to be generated, it would be sent over to the architect, responsibility would be assigned. There was a whole process, it took time, it took energy. But now, using tools like, let us say, PlanGrid, RFIs suddenly became much, much quicker, much better coordinated. Issue on PlanGrid. Required people would be flagged. Multiple connections, multiple comments would then be added to that particular communication. There were digital responses. A lot of times, instead of having to generate a sketch sheet to send on site, sketches would be created on iPads, sent right out. So the communication was quicker and more direct. Nowadays, in the United States, when you go to a building site, you would find maybe one hard copy set of prints. Most of the time, the construction managers would be referring to the prints using iPads. So communication between project teams on site, in the office, were optimized, became a lot more efficient. Not only that, BIM allows for efficient project management. Now, my slide over here says Revit. I'm a passionate Revit advocate. It's all about Revit for me. But there are other tools that also play in the BIM game. You've got Bentley MicroStation, you've got ArchiCAD. All of them are players in the whole BIM arena. So one of the things that BIM does enhance, and BIM is not just a software, it's a whole plethora of considerations that contribute to efficient project management. Efficient modeling practices, absolutely huge. I've already told you a war story about how a corrupt project, mind you, the corruption was only in 2 families, but those 2 families were enough to prevent my company's project from being uploaded to BIM 360, to be accessed by the 500 remote team members who needed to access the project. That was a real inconvenience. So one of the things that is called for by BIM is to ensure that modeling practices are kept, that all the models are kept nice, lean, mean, clean, and efficient. Now, every country does have a national CAD standards. In the United States, we do have a national CAD standards. It's available online. And that is a guideline for companies to put their standards together. However, most companies would like to communicate their own image, their own way of doing things. And that is where things get kind of scary. So, you know, when we are collaborating, let us say, with another architectural firm or another, let us say, another consultant, we've got kitchen design specialty consultants, for instance, then we do need to be able to see what they're doing, understand what they're doing, and also to make sure that their input is compatible with our input. Remember, every sheet that goes out for construction could be to the owner, it could be to a contractor. It needs to look as though it has come from the same hands. So just because of the larger extent of collaboration which is possible over BIM and BIM 360, it is possible to ensure that a consultant drawing that has been received and incorporated in my Revit model looks compatible, looks suitable, looks appropriate with whatever it is that my company and my BIM standards have come up with. Also, one of the major efficiencies that has emerged, modeling existing buildings. A trend nowadays is to take defunct older buildings. In the United States, larger stores that have died. For instance, we've got old Kmart's, we've got old Sears, and they used to occupy huge premises. Nowadays, there's a trend for organizations to acquire those premises and to repurpose them. For instance, you might find an old Kmart that has been repurposed as a family entertainment center, a bowling alley, for instance. I wonder if any of you has had the experience of creating a Revit model from, let us say, old pencil drawings, which are scanned, which are smudged, which are very poor in quality. I mean, you just look at the scans and you don't know what you're looking at. A way out for that nowadays has been the advent of 3D laser scanning, where you have got an agency that will go in with a scanner. And it's really cool because the scanner, you know, it throws lasers around and suddenly in the scan, you will see people show up, you will see furniture show up, and it would be the responsibility of the agency to clean out the people and to clean out the furniture, anything that is not required. So what you have is a virtual model which you can use as a basis to create your existing model. Just that can save a company weeks of existing modeling time. That is so very cool and so very efficient. What's really efficient, what's really wonderful, cool, amazing, call it what you might, is the fact that you can get a virtual walkthrough where you have control over the path of travel. I mean, you're just walking through the building, you're walking through the store, and you can turn around and you can look at whatever you need to see. You can walk through walls. It is totally cool, and that is such a help in modeling an existing building for a current project. Now, in addition, we have a very impressive tool, Dynamo. And what Dynamo does is that aids in efficient model management by the reduction of repetitive tasks. Repetitive tasks like cleaning out corrupt elements, removing imported drawings, changing, let us say, the names of views, checking dimensions. All of those are repetitive tasks that would take time. And this is something, there are some aspects of Dynamo that I use every day in the purpose, during the course of my projects. Now, this brings us to efficient modeling practices. Word to the wise, do not over model. I know it's very addictive. It's very tempting. This is something that I resist every day when, let us say, I'm modeling a piece of furniture and, I just kind of go, oh, I can model this little detail and that little detail. Please don't. Make sure to only model elements that are visible in a view. So, I was modeling a popcorn tumbler. That's a big vessel. It turns around. It's turned around by machine. The popcorn is put there along with flavorings, and it's turned around so the popcorn can be coated by the flavoring. And I could not find a Revit family at the manufacturer's website. So I modeled it. I did not model every bit and piece. I just modeled whatever can be seen in internal elevations of our projects. Which brings me to my pet peeve, manufacturer families. All of you may have gone to BIM objects at some time or the other, and all of you may have been using families that have been retrieved online. Now, a word to the wise. A lot of manufacturer families are directly generated from either their fabrication models, which would be created to show fabrication details, every single nut and bolt, or they may have just recycled old CAD geometry. Also, one of their greatest weaknesses, since they are creating their families for a bunch of users, and in a bunch of countries, just look at this. These are the parameters from a family that I have downloaded from BIM Object. And all of this is pretty redundant. All of this is not required by my projects. So that's the next challenge. How can you take these manufacturer families and how can you make them lean and clean and actually BIM friendly? A lot of content developers for manufacturers or even for an agency like ARCAT have to deal with manufacturers who do not know or understand the software and who cannot understand why it is not possible and not advisable to model a single sheet of polyethylene waterproofing. So in order to do that, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is my tip of the day. Let me bring Revit in. This is my tip of the day that I will close out with. So I've got the family open. My magic tool is something called Revit. I use this a lot. I use this every single day. And the family that I saw with the gazillion parameters, let me, so if I go into Revit, I go into wipe family parameters. What that does is that looks at the family, it looks at the parameters, and now it allows me the option to delete all the 1001 parameters that have been created over here. Anything that is built in, PyRevit will not delete, but you do have the option to pick and choose and retain the parameters that you want. So with that, that's all that I have to say. And I'd like to hand the baton on to Farhad. Back to you, Deepika.
Thank you,
And
Reena.
I see that Viveka is here. Morning, Viveka.
Hello, everyone. I'm so
And
sorry
there she is.
I had internet issues. Now the video sucks, so please give me a... Yeah.
No problem.
Carry
We
on.
always think that perhaps we have issues here, but it's okay. It's everywhere the same issues. We were waiting for you. Thank you, Reena. That was really nice. And
Thank you.
this software does everything that, work from home kind of, it brings together the whole information with the people across the globe, perhaps. And you can
Exactly.
still work on a project. And I think that's the biggest sustainability issues we can have, like
Hey,
tackle.
I didn't have to fly to Delhi to do this.
Yeah, so we are saving so much on carbon emissions and
You bet.
saving the earth. So Viveka, I've already given your introduction and background while you were not here because we were waiting your arrival. So
Thank you so
I
much. And
would.
again, sincere apologies. So Reena is, she's very close to me. We work on a lot of things together, and she was like, this thing is there tomorrow morning, so try to join. So I'm here.
So although I've given you a background, so I'll leave it to you, Viveka, since I didn't get a chance to speak to you. I read about you, about your passion. So would you like to talk about that in your presentation? So I just hand it over to you to take over.
Definitely. Very happy to meet you. I know, because of our time differences, it's good that we are having these kind of conversations. So let me start by, telling a little bit about myself. My name is Viveka Devtas. So I'm located in the Boston office. I work for Autodesk, and I primarily support building design products. So my primary product is Revit, and then I also support BIM 360. And currently I'm researching virtual reality applications. So sustainable design is like a huge bubble, right? It's a huge umbrella. You can classify so many subcategories inside sustainable design. And I think within the company, they are giving a lot of importance to what sustainable design is, what can be done. So we have a responsibility globally, when we are executing our projects. So we have a set of tools we can use and a set of processes we can use in order to achieve this sustainable dream, I can say. So we from Autodesk perspective, Reena was asking me to talk a little bit about what exactly does the company do. So I can I can just share my screen, or how do you want me to go about?
Please share your screen and whatever.
Yeah, let me. Okay, quickly share. Let me know when you can see. Can you see?
Yes.
We can see.
Okay. So let me move this here. So if you go to autodesk.com/sustainability/green design, you do have all these links, like you have product, support, learning, and community. So I don't want to take you into a lot of links and keep showing. You can, it's pretty straightforward. So you could go to the technology part, and then we can see like what exactly is the business goals within the company. So within the company, we do have applications. We do have building design applications. We do have energy efficient applications. We have virtual reality applications. So even though the applications are different, we are worried, we are concerned about what outcomes can be achieved using these applications and tools. So if you see in today's world, this concept of net zero energy, it's very, very catchy. It's there everywhere. So everybody's like, I want to create a net zero energy building. What exactly does that mean? It just, in according to me, in my opinion, it means that it's definitely affordable and we are doing something for our future generations. So maybe our kids, or whoever's there after our generation, they should have a comfortable environment to live in, and the buildings they breathe in, or the buildings they build, also contributes to this energy efficiency index. So, and another thing is green building. So touching on net zero and green building. In green building, again, we want to achieve this low carbon. I'm sure when I joined, I caught you guys conversing about that. So that is again one very, very key area. And then we have IoT, digital twinning, and sustainable designs. So on a high level, information is captured like using drone technology, and then it is processed, and then it solves problems on a large scale, like town planning. It solves noise pollution. It solves how things can be planned better, how housing can be organized, so many things. Another thing the company has invested recently is manufacturing. So they are also into production and 3D printing of tools, lightweight tools, and planters or machinery, which is contributing to a sustainable future, which leaves a very low carbon imprint. So these are few things. Let me go back and show you one more thing. So if you look at the infographic here, it's a very, very simple infographic. It just shows us what we can do to increase the efficiency within buildings, and how we can use energy, water, and materials to minimize this. And it gives a small consensus of how by in 2015 what was happening, and what is the savings when we are going green, what exactly do we save. So as a budding student architect, I would say, like, this is the question which all of us should ask. Okay, I'm very happy with this concept of green design, intelligent design, sustainable future, net zero. What next? What should I do in order to achieve this? What should I consider when designing? So all this is some of the keys where you can adopt. So you can have solar water heaters, you can have windows which allow maximum lighting, you can optimize your design for easy space, you can slope or make your roof flat according to the climate you're living in. You can have insulation. So in India we have concrete structures, and in countries like Belgium it's really cold, so you have to have a very thickly insulated wall. So a lot of things. And then we can make it fun. So once you have your design ready, it's up to you to choose this kind of material to make your design more sustainable. And you can choose this material from top to bottom, right from your flooring to your roofing, and make sure it is leaving a very less carbon imprint on the on the environment. One bamboo is a very bamboo constructions are gaining a lot of importance. Then you can check what materials can I use which can reduce these emissions, and by what percentage. And then you can also consider, once you have all the machines, you can put it into a rating system, right? And then the rating system can actually give you an analysis of how much is can be taken to achieve that green building status, or that LEED status, or whatever. But the main question is always there, like, why should we go green? why should we go green? So we are building for our future generation. We are supporting our environment. We are lowering costs, and we are increasing the comfort level. And we are also overall, we are improving our health and our productivity. So in the US, we have LEED. So that's the US Green Building Council and the LEED Council. So these are two primary areas which certify these buildings if they are green or energy efficient or not. And Autodesk is a certified member, which makes sure, like with its software, how much can be achieved. Okay, so I've been talking for a long time. Let me stop share, and then we can go back to the discussion. And I hope that made sense.
Thank you, Viveka. So I would have liked if you would have, you could, put a little more focus on what the Autodesk is doing to make this sustainability, in buildings, and also as a software, or like you talked about those 3D models. So if there's anything else, would you like to share on that, or maybe later after Mr. Farhat comes in?
Yeah, definitely. So, he can take over. So what I'll do is I'm opening up this software we have available. It's called Insight 360, which does the energy calculations. And then maybe I can show them a brief demo of how they can get the building model into it and how they can run the energy calculations. So, and then, we can shift gears. So
Okay.
over to Farhad now.
Okay, so Mr. Farhad, we all know that BIM not only, like even Reena talked about that it allows design and construction team to work more efficiently. So with your expertise, I would like to know that how BIM plays a major role in creating spaces that are more resilient and sustainable.
Yes. So thank you, ma'am. So first of all, I would like to thank Deepika ma'am to inviting me. So I'll just share my screen, and in the presentation itself, I'll set the tone and how BIM is actually helping in a sustainable future. So let me just share my screen. So I hope my screen is visible, ma'am.
Yes.
It is.
Yes. So good evening, everyone from India. So I'm Farhad, and I'm an architect, and I'm working currently as a BIM evangelist architecture at Capricorn. So before starting, I'll just have a few slides about our company. So Capricorn, we are the leading technology solution provider for customers in AEC, manufacturing, media, and entertainment, education, and graphic industry. And we help our customer unleash ideas to create a better world. So basically, we provide end-to-end technology solutions to customers involved in design activities, and provide 360-degree solutions through product sales, support, and service. We are here since 1987, more than 20,000 plus customers, more than 10 plus offices, and 250 employees. And these are all the industries which we serve to. So mainly the AEC building and infrastructure. I'm from the consulting services, plus I take up the training part as well. And we are partner with all these OEMs, and especially we are the biggest partner of Autodesk in India, platinum partner, and biggest authorized ATC also we run, Autodesk Authorized Training Center. So that was about Capricorn. This is one more slide, especially for the architectural students. So Capricorn, along with Autodesk and Ethos India, so we've come up with an architectural design competition for students. So students, you can log into designadvance.in for more information. The design competition is on right now. So starting on with, first of all, I want to put up the question why BIM, because there are a lot of confusions about BIM, especially in the architectural fraternity, or maybe I could say in India. So to set the tone, why BIM? So if you see in this graph, it's a comparison between different sectors. So if you see the construction industry, productivity per person in construction industry has been kind of stagnant, or it has been kind of decreasing. Whereas if we compare to manufacturing or other sectors, the productivity per person is increasing. So what could be the reason behind this? So simple reason is that how much each sector is spending in the IT. So information technology leads to automation. So every industry, they automate the menial tasks, and that's how they increase the productivity per person by having more number of transactions, more number of tasks, and with lesser people. So if you compare with bank, so we can see bank spends the most amount in the IT, and we can just go back 20 years back when if you have to go to a bank, you would imagine standing in a line getting the cash, and for even small things you have to go to the bank. Now the bank is in your mobile. Bank is online, everything is automated, you don't need to go to bank. All transactions are online and all transactions are digital. You can so we have more transactions in banks, but the number of people are decreasing. So that means the productivity is multiplying, and that is the main reason behind that is they are spending in IT, they are spending in automation. Secondly, so now from the architect's point of view, so if we talk about the era of handicrafts, when we used to have kings and queens, so aesthetics was the primary parameter for any product design. Then industrialization came in. So product efficiency, affordability, function, that became the primary, these were the primary parameters, whereas the aesthetics and quality was not so important. But now today's expectation is that the product should be aesthetically appealing, it should have quality, it should have function, affordability, and it should be efficient as well. So meet this high expectation, we need BIM basically. And so before how BIM is helping the architects, I would like to quote this definition also, because there are a lot of definitions of BIM if you Google them. But what exactly is BIM? Basically, so when we were in architecture college, so my professor, design studio professor would say that Farhad, building is made twice, once in your mind and second on ground. So simply BIM says that building is made thrice, once in the architect's mind. So the concept is obviously in the architect's mind. Second, make that building virtually, so that you resolve all the errors in that virtual building, and then you start construction on site. So this is what BIM is about. So BIM is going to help in emitting those errors. So it's very cheap to delete a beam on computer. That's practically free. But you have to demolish beam on site, a wrong beam on site. It will have three impacts. It will increase the cost. It will increase the time also. Plus it will degrade the quality. So time, cost, quality, these are the only three main parameters for a construction project management. And BIM helps in all these three things: reduce time, reduce cost, and improve quality. So before starting on site, make a virtual asset, do all your analysis, simulation, code compliances, checking with the building bylaws. Exploring means doing the value engineering, optimizing. Then operation and maintenance also we'll discuss further on. So this is the first part of definition of BIM, to make a virtual asset. The second part is, so as architects, so we tend to forget that what we are making is actually going through a complete life cycle. Building is not made for 5 years, 10 years, it is made for 50 years, 100 years. So the same virtual asset can be used at every stage of the building life cycle. So starting from the concept to detailed design to the analysis, this is the most important part. Then documentation, fabrication, 4D is, fourth dimension is time, fifth dimension is cost, then construction, logistics, and operation and maintenance. So the same virtual asset which we made for our design, we hand over to the project guy. The project guys hand over to the operation and maintenance guy, and they keep on adding more and more information, and they can do the analysis, they can predict better. So this is the second part of BIM basically, that the same virtual asset becomes the base of decision making. You know, you with if the engineers are experienced, if the architects are experienced, they say, so people tend to agree. But if you know, if you show them the result, okay, I've done this analysis and this is the decision we should take, because the virtual asset actually behaves like the actual building. Okay, so this is the second part, that the same virtual asset becomes the base of decision making. So this is BIM basically. Now how, so we talk, so majorly architects are there. So how BIM is helping in design. So I'm very fortunate enough to learn this from Mr. Patrick McLeamy himself. So Mr. Patrick McLeamy is the ex-CEO of HOK, and he gave us this curve. So he says that, you know, these are on the x-axis, we can see the design stages. Now, if you see the effort, so in the traditional design workflow, we see that we are putting in more efforts, the most efforts in documentation. Whereas as architects, the most important subject was design. It was never construction documentation. So we are supposed to design, and we are supposed to come up with more design, good design alternatives, but we are spending all the efforts in making plan section elevations. Now, if you go back where I mentioned that IT, what does IT do? IT does the automation. So here comes the Revit. So Revit is kind of automating your construction documentation so that you can focus on design. So you can work out the design options at the earlier stage, and this part is automated. Now the major advantage here, if we go with the traditional design workflow, when we reach the documentation and GFC stage, our ability, or the architect's ability to change the design, decreases considerably, and the cost of design change increases considerably. So after this point, actually, you cannot make any changes, because if everyone knows that, you know, we have planned a square or rectangular building, and then we have issued the drawing on site and the foundations are laid, and then we plan that, oh, we need a circular building. That's a nightmare for the owner. He will say no, because, you know, he cannot demolish the foundation, go back to the drawing board, because on site, once the drawings reach on site and the construction starts, that is the most expensive part. So if we work out the design options earlier properly and leave this to the software, so we can have a very a good preferred design workflow. Plus we can impact the we can change the design at the initial stages, and we can be assured that the design which we have selected will have good impact. Now this is BIM and design. So now we'll talk about sustainability. So why sustainability? So so architects tend to generally forget about building after, you know, it's constructed. And this I've repeated earlier, that the main cost actually lies in the operation of the building. So this theory is again given by Mr. Patrick McLeamy, BIM, BAM, BOOM. So BIM is building information model, BAM is building assembly model. Why building assembly model? In India also, now the building is not constructed, it is assembled. So you have all the railings manufactured off-site, you have all the doors and windows, UPVC doors and windows, they are manufactured on off-site. And slowly nowadays, even the walls are cement walls are also manufactured off-site. So you have a structure on site and then you assemble everything. The best example is Delhi Metro, or all of the metros. They use off-site construction technique. They have only the columns on site and everything is constructed off-site and put on site. So it is assembled. So BAM is basically the construction part, and BOOM is building own and operate model. That, you know, the owner, especially if it's a government project. Why government is mandating BIM in all the government projects? Because they have to maintain it. The maintenance cost is huge. So how much that maintenance cost is, that is that can be seen conceptually here. So x-axis is time and y-axis is the benefit. If we spend 1 rupee on design, then we spend 20 rupee of construction, then we spend 80 rupees on operation. So if now comes the matter of sustainability. So if you ask any architecture student, he will say, okay, we want to make a sustainable building because first of all, it's the in thing. And second, it's environmental friendly. I would say if you design a poor building, which is taking a lot of electricity load, the client is going to suffer a lot during its maintenance and running cost. A lot of great architects also have been sued by their clients because their buildings were not performing well. So a good design doesn't mean that it should be a good looking design, but the building should perform well during its life cycle. So if there is poor plumbing coordination which you have designed in the building, later on there are going to be a lot of leakage problems. So every time the client is getting the building repaired. Secondly, if you use wrong kind of glasses, so building is taking a lot of heat load, and to counteract that we need heavy air conditioning system, which is actually expensive for the client. So this is BIM, this is BAM, and this is BOOM. So BOOM is this big, but architect's role is very important, because if the architect doesn't design a good building, that BOOM will create a lot of problem. So that's why we need sustainable building, sustainable design, basically. So again, this is one more comparison. So if you see, these are the stages. So conceptual, project delivery, design stage, construction stage. So this small green part is the saving which happens during the construction. So again, I'll mention that three things is BIM is helping in: time, cost, and quality. Reduce time, reduce cost, improve quality. There's only this much. This is the saving in construction. That is also huge actually. If you have a 1,000 crore project, you are actually going to save 100 to 200 crores. But that is only this much. But when you have to maintain that building, when you have to run that building, and your building is sustainable, it is consuming less energy or net zero energy. This is the real saving during the lifetime. So connecting to now coming to the sustainable design, and back to the Design Studio 101. So as an architect, we know that there are two types of strategies: passive design strategies and active design strategies. I believe that architect's main role is in the passive design strategies. These, what are passive design strategies? Example, building orientation, insulation, sunshades, day lighting, etc. Now there is less initial cost in this. This is permanent. This is less maintenance. Obviously, you don't have to maintain much in the shades, in the insulation. There is minimum or no running cost. This is environmental friendly, aesthetically appealing. So a lot of great architects, they play with the sunshades, and they come with great designs with which is sustainable also. But the important thing is it should be planned at the initial stage. Now, what are active design strategies? These are heating and cooling system, fans, etc. High installation cost, not permanent. You can, I mean, after 20 years, 25 years, you'll have to replace your air conditioning system. High maintenance, high running cost. Aesthetically, it's not appealing. We have to hide those air conditioning ducts. We have to hide the AHU unit. We don't have to hide the vertical louvers. So it's planned at a little later design stage. So the main role of architect is that he plans the passive design strategies at the earliest stage. Now, how BIM is or Revit actually is helping in that. So in traditional 2D CAD workflow, what happens that, there are a lot of good architects. So they would use their experience. Now architects experience more than 30 years, 40 years, and their presumptions. so they come up with the building orientation, number of fenestration, and material in designing a facility. But this process lacks the substantial data to justify the impact of passive design measures taken by them. So if I'm a unknown architect and I would say, okay, I'll just orient my building like this, and this will save this much in the energy, no one is going to take my word unless Mr. B.V. Doshi comes in and he says, okay, yeah, he's correct. So then the people would agree. But why to go with that when we can make a 3D intelligent model, and architects can run analysis at the initial stage, also conceptual stage, and derive the outputs in order to achieve the thermal comfort. So we all know what are the 4 or 5 factors for the thermal comfort: air temperature, radiant temperature, air velocity, humidity. That can be conceptually, we can run the analysis on the Revit model. So we need data, the virtual asset, which is given by BIM, which should behave like the actual building, so that we get the actual data and our presumptions are accurate. And then we can proudly say that, okay, my building is sustainable. It is going to use only 1/3 of the energy if you compare it with a regular building. Plus the good passive measures, if we follow them properly, they kind of, help to ease up the load on the heating and cooling systems, which are the active measures which will come later on. So it's very important that we have a software which help us to predict the energy usage of the building at the early stage. So I just heard that Viveka ma'am was about to show this, so I also had this insight. So there are in Revit also we can do a lot of analysis. We can do daylight analysis, solar analysis. Then there is one more software, Autodesk Insight, which picks up the Revit model, and it's so good for architects because it considers the passive design measures. So I'll just quickly run this. Sorry. So you can see we can quickly pick up this model in the Revit, and then we can, we can see all these are parameters, passive design parameters. So like you can see here the building orientation. So it will give you various options. Okay, if we change this orientation by these many degree, so this triangle one is the most optimum orientation, and we can prove it with the data basically. And this we can do at the very initial stage. I remember that when I used to make the concept sheets, I would just make the wind movement, I would just make the sun movement, but the analysis was not there. So let the software do the analysis. Let us derive the design components. So this is the analysis on shades, window shades. What should be there should be the window shades basically on south side, and then we get the optimum. So we need like 13% of window shades here on the south wall to have the most efficient design. So it shows us the energy consumption, and it's according to the ASHRAE standards, so which we follow. So it's like it's our word against the actual data basically. So I would say that the architect should focus on design. Let software do the menial task of doing the analysis rather than us studying the sun part diagram. Let the software study that. Let it come out with the results, and we should orient our design according to the findings of the software. So here at initial stage, this is how BIM and Revit is going to help you with the sustainable to decide a sustainable or passive design strategy basically at the earlier stage. So we have all sorts of analysis here. You can you can search Google for Autodesk Insight, and you can see. So it's Chrome login basically. So it has a lot of parameters. You can go in detail. So that was my presentation. You can connect with me at connect@capricorn.com. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Farhad. So Viveka, would you like to come in?
Yeah, sure. So Farhad, that was excellent. In fact, I had the same first two slides to show. Let me start by sharing my screen. Give me 1 minute. Okay, I think you'll have to stop sharing, Farhad.
We can
Okay,
see
great.
you, see your, Acha, we can't see your screen.
Okay. So since Farhad, can you see my screen now?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so Farhad, I guess he did an excellent job. He already had the same insight analysis. So what I have for you guys is, let me pull up the Revit 2021. So I have the model here already open. In order, in the essence of time, I'm just going to show you how we are using the software for the analysis and how it is taken to the cloud. So if you go to any Revit version, you're going to have the Analyze tab. So inside the Analyze tab, you have multiple tools, right? So what you can do is once you have your 3D view ready, so you could go and hit on generate. So here I've already generated because I don't want to spend 5 minutes of this running. I've already generated, but let me show you quickly. So once you have your 3D model ready, you could create this energy analytical model, which Farhad has showed us on Inside 360. And this will generate a lot of design options. So what we can do is we could click on optimize, and we could also go to the basic site. So this, once it's rendered, it's going to come in here. So this is another sample project I just opened up for you guys. So you could see the completed energy model on the cloud in the screen, and before that you'll have to sign into this. So if I'm going back to this is how it looks. So I have signed in to the cloud using on Autodesk Inside 360 cloud service, and the project which I have rendered here in Revit is going to show up here. So most often you will receive an email like your model is being analyzed, or your model is being the energy model is being created. It will take like 5 or 10 minutes depending on the size of the model. So if it is a small model, it's not going to take a lot of time, but once it's ready, it is going to show up on the cloud. So once it shows up on the cloud, Farhad quickly ran through all these topics for us. So you're going to have multiple things which you can analyze for your model. So these are not restricted to windows, walls, shades, etc. However, it comes with certain limitations. So, if the model is too big, you might be missing some surfaces. You might be, you have to change that particular quality when you're designing in Revit. Maybe you have to design it as a conceptual mass. So let me show you quickly here, which I have open. So this is, can you see the steps which I have open here? So within Revit, we are looking at the Generate tab here. And let me run in the presentation. So the Generate tab is the first step you're going to see. So when you click on that, it's going to generate an energy analytical model. And then once you're generating energy analytical model, it's going to show up in the screen. And then you have something on the tool itself, which is the widget. So inside the widget, you can pick and choose on certain elements. For example, if you pick on the roof, you could complete some analysis. If you could isolate, you could show all the objects. So all these are like maneuvering tools you could do. So let's go back to Revit. I leave you to explore this cloud version. But coming back to Revit, I just wanted to show a couple of things. You do have, once you generate, you could optimize, you could delete the existing energy model, and you could start completely back again. You could run the analysis again. You can classify the location. So based on wherever you are located, you could define this by internet mapping. If you're located in Boston or in any other location, you could map that. And then you could also systemize. So the system zone is something which is a little bit new, or they have additional tools to it. So this tool is actually allowing you to define specific areas. and then you could sketch on top of that. So for example, you want to analyze only the part of the roof for energy functions, you could go and you could draw a, maybe just imagine this is a solar shading device. You could draw on that and take that into your calculation, and again use the location to come back to it. So for now, I'm just going to exit out of that system zone. You have two other settings which are very crucial. Like Farhad explained, the how windows and how lighting can, improve the inside quality of the building. So when we go to lighting, we have options of lighting, running this lighting analysis in the cloud, which is connected to this. Inside 360, it's connected to the cloud. So coming back to Revit, what we can do is we can generate new analysis. So we can select a particular analysis, and I'm going to hit go. So once you're going to hit go, sometimes it may fail because, with the project I have open is read only. So if you have a local model, make sure you have a local model saved on your machine, and make sure you have 100% permission rights. Then you have an option of running this using a credit system. So you have to make sure you have sufficient credits, or it's like a tokens where you can run it on the cloud to analyze this data. Okay, and then once it's being analyzed, you're still going to get an email with all this information, and then it's going to give you a very brief summary of, okay, in my custom analysis, you can see the rooms highlighted in yellow. So all these rooms are included in the day lighting calculation, and what is passed, what is failed, what is below threshold, etc. So, this is like a very brief demo, in the sense of time, I'm just running through a very brief analysis. But once you are going deeper and deeper, you can get more values. And once you're opening that model in the cloud, you have a lot of comparisons you can do. You can change some settings based on whatever locations you have, and do analysis. So Farhad also showed us how this is done, and how I showed you how it is done in Revit. One important thing I want to leave you with is, so why do we use Insight? So let me go back to here. We partnered with a firm in Boston called Pay It. And this because the host was telling, do I have an example? So I just wanted to quickly show this. So this company in Boston, they have used this Insight tool for their own office. And we partnered with them, and we came up with a custom tool for their office, where we calculated the number of windows, we calculated number of rooms, we calculated how much light is coming inside the building. We even counted the number of people using that space. So there were like 20 or 23 people using that office space on a 6th floor in a very cold weather. So we came up with a very brief storyboard. So why I wanted to put this here is, as architects, I think as students, it's very important for us to have a little bit of a story before we run analysis. What exactly is the outcome, and what exactly am I getting out of it? So we had a very basic concept, and I just wanted to show that we also used other software. We used VR to analyze before even that space was constructed. We used virtual reality to define how the windows could have an impact. So I have a very quick 1-minute video which I want to just run by quickly. So let me drag it here. Give me 1 second. So I'm not going to run the introduction for the sake of time, but let me go back. So basically what we did is, this is a very grayscale model of the office space of the Pay It architects we designed in Revit. It's a 3D model. So we got this 3D model into a software called Unity. Unity Reflect is a gaming software platform. So once we got into this, we can visualize the model in virtual reality. We developed a tool which is actually going to calculate the number of openings of the windows. If you look at this arrow here, we have a slider. And when you're in virtual reality, we could tweak this slider. So if you look at the window sizes, it's like very linear. But when you come here, we could actually grow and we could actually increase the width and the height of the windows. So when I'm tweaking the tool, because this is a demo, we cannot see clearly, but what I want to imply here is what we were able to do here. In virtual reality, when we are having the handset and when we are with wearing the headset and when we are having the hand tracking, we were able to tweak the width and the height and to see what difference or what impact it had in the interior of that building. Okay, so let me skip that part quickly. So here, when we are increasing, when we are hitting grow, you could see the difference between the size of the increase of the windows and how much light is coming. So, and again, it was not optimal. So we generated the lighting analysis for that part of the building. And for each workstation, we could generate how much light should be needed. Do they need solar shading devices and everything? So again, we have here, if you observe here, we have in virtual reality, we had certain tweaks where we could, if you see the window shades, on the right, you can see it is completely pulled on the left, you can see the glare coming in. So this tool in VR helped us to calculate how much solar glare is coming inside the building. And then we were able to run, if you see on this desk, we were able to run several graphs. So the first image on this graph, it shows that it has a maximum sunlight entering the room and all the inmates are filled with glare and nobody can work conducively. So once we use this tool to alternate the solutions to reduce the solar device or reduce the size of the windows, we could see in that graph, the last image, that it was completely dark. So from this series of graphs, we could identify a spot where it's both allowing light, size, a certain size of the window, everyone is feeling comfortable, and then they reposition the desk and everything was working very optimal. So and then again, we used tinting. So we used a different kind of tint for the window and the window sizes. Okay, so let me quickly move that here. And now if you can see, when we are at the maximum, the entire room is lit. The entire solar glare is maximized, and then we had to run it for 2 different floors. So we run the analysis for we classified the seating for daylight zones, and we repositioned the desk. So if a person is facing the windows, maximum glare is going to come and is going to be blinded. So how much light and how much size of the window can be alternated using this VR tool. Okay, so these were like very simple kind of graphs which we run. So let me go back to Revit. So once you have the use of these tools, you can go back to Revit and you can, of course, it's parametric, right? So you could go and you can edit your window. Okay, that was not what I required. You could go back and you could remove that window from your scenario, and then you could go to your analyze tab and run the energy analysis again, then run to the cloud, run back to the cloud here, which Farhad showed us a while ago. You're going to generate here, and then you'll still have the calculations. So in essence, what we are trying to do is we are trying to connect 3 different things. We have the model, we are running energy analysis, taking it to the cloud, using additional tools like virtual reality before even it's being built, analyzing some live situations there, coming back to Revit, and then adding or removing the features. Okay, so let me go back to one second. Okay, so one last thing I wanted to tell is we all know that we can make buildings independent. So we can calculate buildings, the openings, we can calculate the size of openings, the pathways and everything, but we can also classify them in terms of materials, we can classify them in terms of in terms of devices, and then we can choose ourselves as upcoming architects. We can choose like what kind of data is needed to simulate. What is the occupancy? Is 20 people occupying the room or 50 people occupying the room? So ask all these questions and make your building like a breathing, it's not a static place anymore. So you can generate multiple scenarios, multiple possibilities, like no windows, it's dark. With windows, it's too bright. I'm going to keep 3 windows. I'm going to allow only one skylight. The space is lit. So keep on considering changing these scenarios based on 4 different constraints: your occupancy, your comfort level, and then other additional tools like lighting or HVAC. So you can keep going deeper and deeper and use the existing tools like Ecotech. You could use insight analysis. So all these extra tools are going to give you new approaches of how much your energy can be optimized, and then how you can get your end product. So basically it's you are bettering the entire building performance by going through this entire cycle of building your model in Revit, then going to the cloud and analyzing it with all the available parameters, using additional tools like VR, to do analysis of a glare analysis or a comfort level, and then coming back to Revit and making those changes. Okay, let me stop sharing and let's open it for based on how much time we are having.
Thank you so much, Viveka and Farhad. That was excellent to know that how much can be done, with the software. Uh, Knowing about that curve which you shared, Farhad and Viveka, this presentation on virtual reality is something which personally I was not aware of, and it's very, very informative. And I would like to say that earlier, like the architects would design looking at the form and the functions, but now software has given that, has become like an assistant to assist us in creating whatever buildings we want to, but yet maintaining the comfort in all aspects. Because like the one you were saying, that 4 aspects to keep in mind about the occupancy and the comfort level, everything was done or sometimes not even done. It was based on design, that how much glazing, what kind of elevations an architect conceived. But now it is all dependent on, this software helps you achieve the best with your forms and functions. And a kind of one-liner, I just thought while your presentations were going, that how to kind of sum it up in just a one line. I would say that it's like the software is predicting the unpredictable, which earlier we were not aware of. So it can predict, and the buildings will never fail, I think, if one goes with the kind of software and the analysis what you all have shown. So I'm sure the architects or the students who are watching, if they have any questions or if there's something you would like to ask the panelists. We have, I think, with us an assistant professor from CCA as well with us, Nirmal Kaushik. So would you like to ask something? Any question for the panelists?
Hello. Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah.
Actually, ma'am, I taught BIM in last semester to MArch students.
Okay.
For Revit, in Revit actually, Revit software we used for that. I had a query about the inside 360 degree. Hello.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
go ahead.
please go
Am I
ahead.
audible?
Listening.
Ma'am, I had a query about the inside. मैम जैसे हम लोग के एशरेज के अकॉर्डिंगली है, तो इंडियन स्टैंडर्ड जैसे ग्रिया वगैरह, तो उसके रेटिंग के अकॉर्डिंगली हम लोग का शायद उसमें कुछ है नहीं, मतलब इंडियन कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बीम के जो रेस्पेक्टिव ये सॉफ्टवेयर हैं, आई थिंक मैम ऐसा कुछ आप ऐसा रिकमेंड कर सकते हैं, जैसे उसमें स्टैंडर्ड्स जो हैं वो एशरे वगैरह के हैं।
So I can speak to that. So since I'm working now in Boston, and I've also worked in India. So you are absolutely right. You know, I had the same issues because you know, the softwares, most of the softwares are a little bit catered to the US audience. I'm sure Reena would also have points to add. So we do have lead rating. So we have platinum rating, we have gold and silver and whatever. So all these are categorized based on the US this thing. And in India, I think we do have customized tools also to like Ecotech. So I may not be aware of any other available tools, but what I can tell you is we can always tweak the software to work for us. So what I can tell you is like use Revit to the maximum. You know, design your model in Revit, and then this additional tool like Insight 360 is a process. It's not the only tool in this world. Even though I'm working for the same company, you know, we look at a wide gamut of other softwares also. You know, it's not like we are using different kind of technologies. That's what I'm trying to say. So see, the end goal is like the host, she put it very perfectly in you know, in a beautiful tagline that, you know, achieve the predict the unpredictable. So that is our end goal. So for that end goal, we are still having constraints. We are having the software, you know, not tweaked to global audience. And even in Europe, you know, we have the GDPR and we have other constraints. So when designing, you know, there is always a question, and there's always a challenge for us, because I'm working with a company like your software is more catered for, you know, the American audience. I don't think, you know, if you analyze it a little more deeper, I cannot say that it's true. I think we'll have to prepare the software a little bit different when we are preparing the model itself and sending it to the cloud, and also see how best. So within, I just closed down Revit, but if you go to the same generate tab, there are certain settings, I believe, energy settings, where you could set geolocations, you could set the units, and you could also make it as you know, metric or imperial or feet and inches, depending on where you're located and what kind of project you're working on. Little changes to get those this thing. And then again, in Building Council in India, you do have certain set of points or certain set of ratings. So you could do some calculations, have the model with that US value, then have a separate energy calculator. There are some free tools available on the Insight forums. If you check on the Insight Autodesk forums, they do have some free Excel tools which does these conversions for you. So in essence, what I'm telling, once you are calculating a height of a certain building, okay, this is like 3 feet height, but 3 feet is not a, you know, we are more in metric and we are more in you could use that tool to convert it. I know it's a manual process, it's not the best process, but sometimes, you know, they use the tool to the best advantage. Any tool has its own limitations. In fact, you have Ecotech, then IIT in Hyderabad, they have their own customized tool, but still these tools are not giving what we need. So as architects, I would tell you, explore, you know, don't like restrict only to one software, one technology. Use different technologies to get your end goal of you know, coming up with the you know, the unpredictable. So I hope that answers your question. I know it's a generic answer, but you know, that's my humble opinion. Like, you know, use additional tools. The results will sometimes it will, you know, the software itself is catered to a different kind of this thing. And because I'm you know, I'm seeing the group which is working on this tool within the company, they do have things coming up in the pipeline, especially for climatic change, for energy. And I would definitely ask you to keep an eye on that. Subscribe to the forum, subscribe to our posts and everything. And the latest tools which is coming out, they do have scope for, you know, a larger rating system. In UK it's different, right? In UK we have a complete different rating system. What is applying in UK might not be applying in US, might not be applying in Australia. So each continent, each part of the world has different audience, but the end goal is the same. We are all working towards a better future, and I think the tools we use can be tweaked to match what we are wanting in the end goal. I hope that answers your question, but I'm, you know, if anyone has better suggestions, please.
Would you like to say something, Reena, on this?
I'm completely with Viveka on this because most of the software that you see is geared towards American audiences. The UK does have its own standards, especially for project delivery, for integrated project delivery, for instance, digital project management. They do have their own very strongly developed set of standards, and the rest of Europe also does. I'm actually intrigued to hear that the Humble Excel is being used as a conversion tool to help Insight be more global friendly. So that's really nice to know. That's
Mr. Nirmal, do you has it answered your query?
Yes, ma'am. I am 100% agree with ma'am. Yeah. Yeah, actually, just I'm looking forward the different rating system, but finally product would be same.
Yeah. Anything
Viveka,
else?
is there I'm sorry.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm just looking for that tool. So, you know, I can, so I'm just going to throw some links in the chat. So can you share it with the professor? So let me put it here.
And Viveka, doesn't Insight have an ideas forum? I would think that this would
It
be
does have an ideas forum. You're very welcome to submit the ideas. There is someone who's looking at this, and I would say, because, you know, I think we have to bring this as a huge concept in our country. You know, we have to do the best, and it goes out. My heart goes out, you know, when we do amazing things in our country, and, you know, it's not like only good buildings are here, right? Good buildings are everywhere, and if it's happening in our own country with different tools, I think that should be there. So let me put some links in the chat. I also wanted to touch base very briefly on Dynamo, but if Reena, if you could just talk about Dynamo just a little bit for the coding part, you know, I think that will just give them an awareness. It's an additional tool, right? For
correct.
yeah. So
Absolutely
I,
correct. And I'm
yeah.
pretty sure that the Dynamo forum may have somebody who is already trying to work on this. You know, if you check out the work done by the Aussie BIM guru, Gavin Crump, he has been doing some pretty amazing things in Dynamo.
Okay, I've shared some links with the host. So these are additional tools which you can use, and, you know, it's freebies for students. It is something like a daylight saving position calculator, and you could tweak that to your specific AM or PM location. Certain parameters are missing in the Insight tool, but in this tool you can actually get the city, calculate the minutes and the seconds, get the exact UTC or the daylight savings time, solar azimuth. I'm not a big fan of what actually those terms mean, but it's something to do with the sun angle. So all that can be calculated. There is one more tool I can send across. So this is nothing but it's an RGB calculator. So if we have 1 minute, maybe I can just show you that. I'll be happy to share this tool also with the team. Let me quickly share the screen. So can you see the tool?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a very simple calculator where it is calculating, it's designed for a glass appearance or for a window. So you can put in the number of panes, that is the window panes, thickness of the window, and then you can, let me enable the editing here. You can tweak this. Say if I'm putting here as 2. See these RGB values, that is the tint values has been adjusted. So once you get the tint values from this, there is, it automatically calculates the reflectivity. So you know, in we if we, as architects we must be aware of the birds flying around our buildings. You know, when I see huge skyscrapers or something in and it is not very friendly with you know, the birds population. Many, there is also a Netflix documentary where birds think that is the sky and they come and hit against the building, and you know, they, unfortunately it's not, it's built to make it look beautiful, but it's not built to serve the surrounding environment. And trees, again, try to incorporate as much trees, even though it's a multi-story building. There are so many options to bring in greenery in your building. You could bring that, but for everything I think the openings, the amount of light, the amount of noise barrier comes through your doors, windows and skylight, and for that you could use this tool. I can send that tool across to you, so I can put that in the chat. It's a freeware, but you are welcome to try that and see if it is helpful. Okay, let me share that for you. Yeah. Or is there an email where I can send? It's not attaching to the chat.
Yeah, I will send you my email just now, and
Okay.
if
Yeah,
you can
then I
send
could.
that and share it with everyone.
Okay, I can do that. Okay, I will make sure I'll send it to you, Deepika.
Okay.
Uh,
So, Farhad, would you like to say some concluding words?
Yeah, so I would just say that as an architect, it is our responsibility that the buildings are sustainable and they have a less operating and running cost. So we should keep that in mind while designing. So we should keep the complete life cycle in the mind while designing the building and make it sustainable.
And also,
True.
we should extend the concept of sustainability to the process that leads up to the finished product. So we should ensure that our processes are as optimized, and we should leverage technology as far as possible to make sure that our processes are as efficient as possible.
I
Right.
would say, like, you know, don't just use the software firsthand, you know, take, you know, like how we were taught traditionally, sketch it out, do a storyboard. Just imagine you're a movie director shooting a nice Bollywood movie with Shah Rukh Khan and with Deepika Padukone, and you know, have that storyboard in mind. Okay, this is it, this is the first thing, and my end goal is this. I'm going to have it, you know, 100% energy efficient. Think like a, you know, think fun, you know, make it creative. It's a very creative venture, and what we are leaving behind is, you know, it's going to serve the next generation. So put it down on paper, make lots of sketches, make lots of doodles, then transfer your idea to the computer, then use the software. You know, that is what I tell my students all the time. I'm sure Reena will agree. She's having a lot of experience critiquing students and tweaking it for the best you know, outcome. So I'm sure she will agree. Start out in paper,
It's a
don't
battle to
rush
make
to
my
the
students.
don't
I
rush to the software.
It's a battle to make my students do anything on paper. They do not believe that they need to know how to create a drawing correctly. They think that just, I know CAD, I know everything. Yeah, right.
No, but I think, Viveka, you are right, and Serena, so are you. This generation, perhaps their concepts do not start on paper. They right away start on CAD, which is not correct. I think it is always on a drawing board. Your concepts and everything should be on drawing board, and then kind of transferred to any software where they can move on. And the whole process also, like our generation, and I'm sure Farhad, you are from the same kind of background, that you put your thoughts on paper and then transfer it to the software. You can't design a building on CAD. It can certainly assist you later, but your thoughts have to be, and the process too, like Viveka said, that the storyboard is basically the process, that what you want, how you want your building, and what aspects you want in a building to be looked at. So
That's correct, because the software is just a tool. And when you are actually thinking, you're in the process of creative thought, a lot of times just the software, you have to think, okay, I need to use this command, I need to use that command, or things are not going wrong, or why can't I see things correctly? And that tends to get in the way of the flow of creative thinking.
True. So I think it was really nice. Thank you, all the panelists, Reena, Farhad, and Viveka. And Reena and Viveka, I don't know what kind of time difference. It must be early morning. And we are
Bright and early.
It is actually fun, because for the time, I think it's 8:30 for me. Reena's in the Midwest.
Nope, same time for me.
Same time zone, but still, it's so nice. This COVID has brought all of us together. There is a complete blur between
Yes.
time and work and home, and home is kitchen is your office now.
True. See what technology has done. We have virtual backgrounds, and we can create any kind of environment wherever we are, and we can save on traveling. So
that's what I was telling you, Viveka, I was telling Deepika that I would have had to fly to Delhi to have this conversation with you.
So we've saved on so much energy and costs, and better air and better bluer sky for all of us. So thank you so much. And this is live on Facebook. Anyone can see it anytime. And Reena, thank you. So we hope to see your blogs back again this year. So we look forward to a new edition of your blogs. And stay with us, stay tuned. Every Tuesday we bring a new topic here on Facebook, and next week we are going to talk to our ex-principal from Chandigarh College of Architecture, Dr. Bhatti, on his new book. So stay tuned with us and stay in touch. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you all. Thank you all. It was a wonderful experience meeting all of you. And I wish everybody a very safe COVID recovery phase. And, wherever you are, please be safe.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
With everyone, and stay in touch. We'll have more conversations after this soon.
Perfect.
So,
Thank
you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Farhad. Thank you,